Welcome to the Where Entrepreneurs Thrive podcast. I'm your host, Russ Nolting, and this is the podcast where we explore the stories, strategies, and secrets of entrepreneurs who are shaping the real estate industry. Each episode, we sit down with leaders and innovators and dive into their journeys, uncover what fuels their success, and discover how they've turned challenges into opportunities. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, you're in the right place to get inspired to take your game to the next level. Today, I'm in the studio with Brendan Bartic from Denver, Colorado. Brendan, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Russ. I'm really excited. I'm a listener, and I think what you're doing is great, and we're sharing a lot of cool insights with a lot of very interesting people. So I'm honored to be one of them.
Well, awesome. Let's jump right in. So, how'd you get into real estate? How'd you get to KW?
I got into real estate, interesting enough, by way of Iraq. So I was in the military. I emancipated when I was 17 from the social service system, went into the U.S. military and the U.S. Army. And when I finished my tour with the Army, I actually went to work for Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. And when I was working at Ritz-Carlton Hotels, I got a job offer when we were going back to remove Saddam Hussein from Iraq. And I always say this, people always get mixed up. I'm like, Saddam Hussein, not Osama bin Laden. Very different people, right? Yeah, so Saddam Hussein, Iraq, Osama bin Laden, Afghanistan.
Right.
So when we went to remove Saddam and invaded Iraq, I was working at the hotel company, and they needed someone that had wartime experience, because I had that in the Army, that also was able to place high-end foreign dignitaries in hotel rooms inside Iraq and Kuwait, because at that time you couldn't fly directly into Iraq because they were shooting down the planes, and it was a war. So it was a really weird job offer from Halliburton, which was Dick Cheney was the president of the company at that time before he became vice president. And so I did a tour over there where my job was to fly in foreign dignitaries like Congress people and senators. And what people don't realize during that time too, after we removed Saddam, we had to try to rebuild democracy in an Arabic Islamic country. And that was not an easy task, apparently, So, I mean, we had to burn all the money, if you think about it. Saddam Hussein was on every single piece of currency, his picture.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which you don't think about. So it'd be like, if we removed Lincoln, we'd have to remove, it's crazy to think about these things. So there'd be just fields of money being burned. I mean, billions of dinar, Iraqi money. And so anyway, I had a really weird job. Long story short, in doing that, when I returned back to the States, I said, you know what? I'm going to go into property management. I didn't want to go back into hotels. I was really exhausted of working for someone else. I was like, and I go, the hotel gig is you go here and you work for this person. You kind of have to move all over. So I go, I'm going to go into property management, because in a weird way, that's what I was doing. I would find places for these dignitaries to stay in war-torn areas and negotiate leases with hotel companies and all kind of stuff like that. And so I went to real estate school, and the instructor during real estate school to get my license in Florida, I was in Naples, Florida. He goes, Brendan, you talk way too much to be in property management. He goes, Brendan, you need to go into residential real estate. He goes, I think you'll enjoy it more. He goes, it's a better fit for your, I guess, obnoxious personality style. And so I took him up on it. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a job as an assistant and see if I like it. Because I had made pretty decent money when I was overseas. So I came back. I got a job with her. Her name was Susan Heller. She's still an agent. Shout out Susan if you're listening to this someday. She's in Naples, Florida. And I started out as her real estate assistant. And lucky for me, she was a Mike Ferry trained agent. Hardcore, and my whole office was. And so I came into this world, Russ, where every single person was prospecting, like hardcore, like where it was expired for sale by owners. Everyone had headsets on in a studio, and this is back, in the early 2000s, if you will. So,
Yeah.
I really look at that and I go, man, I was so lucky that I was surrounded by these passionate agents. And so I started out as her assistant. Then I became an agent. Then I was an agent on her team, and there wasn't really like teams back then. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of was just starting to kind of form in the creation of Keller and all that stuff, or not creation of Keller, but the MREA model kind of inspiring so many people, I think. So yeah, then I became my own agent at the office, and then yeah, I went from you know not ranked to I was number 18 in the state of Florida,
Yeah.
and it was all based on lead gen, and it was all based. I mean, I would lead gen 4 hours a day, every single day, forever, and then then 2008 crashed. I started a for sale by owner company called Keep Your Gold. So that was our keepyourgold.com, and we sold for sale by owner packages to people online, and our for sale sign was actually a pot of gold that said Keep Your Gold on it, and we would mail it to you as a for sale by owner and put you on the MLS. And so I did that. I left residential real estate and had a lot of success in that because at the time the market was flipping in Florida and everything was tanking, right? And so sellers were like, how do I sell my house when I have not a lot of money to pay in commission? And I was like, I got you. The challenge in keepyourgold.com was working with so many different board of realtors and MLSs because
Yeah.
you'd have to unlock each MLS. And in Florida, there's like 4 billion MLSs.
Yep.
And it
Right.
was a nightmare, especially back then. I mean, I think they're trying to centralize it a little bit more now, but so those were the roadblocks. And then after that, I came back to Colorado, started my real estate business from nothing. I went in, I didn't know anyone here, had nothing, and moved here because my business partner in the company, we looked at the map and we go, all right, Naples is hot and it sucks in the summer. Our other choices were Charleston or California. So we went and toured all three. And we came to Denver, had the best time ever, loved it, and that's how I came to Denver.
You're not a Colorado native?
No, I moved here. I grew up here. I moved here from Texas, outside of Houston, Lake Jackson, when I was 6. So I grew up in a trailer park in Lake Jackson, Texas, moved here, went into the social service system when I was 11. And that's when I said, when I don't have anyone here, because I never was like in school, like because I bounced around, I got my GED because I was in and out of group homes, foster care, all of that. When I turned 17, joined the Army, and then I met a girl in the Army, and that's what took me to Naples, Florida. When I
Got it.
got
What
out of the
company
Army.
was Susan with in Naples?
Coldwell Banker, and now she's with Remax. I think she owns a Remax in Naples, Florida.
Yeah. Naples is hot.
It is. It is hot in the summer. And I was younger. If I played golf now and I lived there, I'd probably be in paradise. I didn't play golf. The whole city shuts down at 9 o'clock, and it's just like it's the most beautiful place on earth if you're
Yep.
60 years old in golf, and you can wear shorts all summer long, right? I was wearing this, going on listing appointments, sweating my, everywhere, and yeah, so I was excited to come back here, but it was cool coming back and doing it a second time and realizing that when you master the power of listings and master the power of lead gen, that you can go anywhere and restart. I just talked to a really amazing agent that's out in California right now. She lives in San Diego, and her fiance want to move here. And she's just like, she's been working there for 6 years, and she's like, how do I reset the button? I'm going to lose all of that business. And I go, well, and I've worked with her in the past, and I'm like, when you really control your lead gen and you control the art of going after listings, you can kind of hit the reset button anywhere and jump back in and
Yeah.
really in that first 12 months be very successful. So that's what I did, and it was cool to kind of prove it all over again that I could do it because I was scared. I'd been out of the game, and I was like maybe it's different in Florida because old people just love me, and I was like, am I going to be able to do it here? But it was really funny. I just went back to the same principles. First one in the office, locked myself in the room, role play. And really funny, and Ali Van Westenberg, who you know, right, in our company, she's great, right? Maps coach Ali.
Yeah.
She was in the office right next to me. So she was in the office next to me. And then now Lena Krylov, who is one of the top agents here in the Front Range, she's now working at our office, but she was, at the time we were all Coldwell Banker, me, her, and Ali were right in the office next to each other. And again, I just got lucky about being inspired by very hardworking people. When I say I was the first one there, I was always trying to beat those two, and they were hardcore working. And so we just had this culture that drove us so much to go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I think it really helped quite a bit.
Yeah. Do you remember that Mike Ferry story about the Mike Ferry client who was a Northwest Airlines pilot? And he flew, I think he flew the Detroit to San Diego route back and forth. And he used, the smile and dial
Yeah,
strategies
scripts.
that Mike was teaching. And he had a, business in Detroit, and he had where Northwest was headquartered. And am I saying that right? Northwest Airlines? Yeah, I think so.
I think
Um,
so. Yeah. Yeah.
and then he had a business in San Diego and two hubs. And he did what you're saying. He
Right.
got there. If he woke up in Detroit, he made calls in Detroit. If he woke up in San Diego, he made calls in San Diego. And he wrote his own ticket.
That's it. I mean, it just puts you in the driver's seat, and people say now, well, it's so different because of, the TPC or the TCPA, and that's not. I wouldn't say that's a false. That's false. It's just going lead gen means that you're just actively sorting and finding people that want to list a home with you. And my coach always said to me, he goes, right now, there's someone out there that you can reach today that needs to sell a home. The
Yeah.
only thing that's holding you back is you finding them. Just go.
Yeah.
Whether that's knocking on doors, whether that's phone calls, whether that's DMing people on social media, whether that's instead of just going, you know what, I find that a lot of agents right now are just going, I hope somebody sends me a referral. I hope someone sends me a lead. I hope, I hope, I hope. And that's a very stressful way to do a business.
Yeah.
It's just very stressful. So that's what I think.
So what year was it that you got to Denver?
So I came back in 2014,
And so
2014.
just over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And tell us about the trajectory of your business in Colorado, 2014 today. How was your first year? Where are you now?
Yeah. First year, the funniest thing is the first listing I took was a piece of land in Aurora, that was like $59,000. That was my first listing when I came back in 2014. And I remember being on the listing appointment. It was a gentleman, and he was smoking cigarettes at the table while I was doing the listing presentation. And I remember going, is this really what I'm coming back to doing? And I just kept telling myself, I was like, one by one, one by one. Every listing is going to lead to another marketing opportunity. It's going to be a sign on the road that somebody's going to see my name. And so I think it just humbles you a lot to think about that strategy. So then the first year I did 18. I closed 18 in the first 12 months. And then the second year, I probably went to like 45, something like that. I
Yeah.
mean, my goal was, and I was at Coldwell Banker at the time before I got the wonderful experience to come to Keller, was my goal was to beat Karen Bernardi. And Karen Bernardi was the legend of Coldwell Banker. And so they had this wall where it was just like your picture almost on a pyramid. And I was at the bottom of the pyramid and she was at the very top of the pyramid. And I go, all right, I'm just going to keep moving up this thing and
Yeah.
I'm going to get there. Right. And so I was, and me and Allie, we're kind of side by side a lot of the times, and her son worked on her team and all these different things. And so that was really my focus. And so I became number one in the office, and then never beat Karen Bernardi, Denver, total Colorado, because she was carrying like 57 listings in Boulder at the time that were all like 3 million. I mean, she's just a machine. But became number two to her in the state of Colorado. And Yeah, and then I received an amazing book from Tammy Daly, one of the Keller Williams team leaders, called the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, sitting right over there. And I read that, and I said, and I was probably at that time selling year over year myself personally 130, 140 listings.
Yeah.
And I was tired, and I didn't have a team structure really that I was really proud of. And so I read the MREA over and over again, and then made the move to Keller. And then my goal was, okay, I'm going to learn how to scale a team. And so the Bartic group became a creation, and we had a lot of success, became the number one, real estate team here. And then my next idea was, I really want to scale something big. And so I looked at expansion, I looked at local expansion, and that's when we created our team, Elite Home Partners. And Russ, the good and bad about Elite Home Partners was that I discovered along the way was my goal was to try to build a world where the people that really wanted to produce could be owners of the company. And my thought process was, that's a great idea, right? And it's a very kumbaya idea. The challenge with that was for us to do that, the ownership model worked, but to scale at the size that we needed to scale to provide the amount of leads and services that we wanted to provide, it created this situation where you just had to keep getting bigger and bigger. And if you didn't get bigger and bigger, profit got smaller and smaller.
Yep.
And that had a set of challenges that I think we always talk, me and you've talked about this. It's like, what problems do you want to deal with? And I just didn't find myself enjoying it, and it's hard to say because people are like, oh, you got this accolade and you get to be featured on these, at family reunion. And it is a weird system because you do get recognized for volume and units. You do,
Yeah.
right? We get put on a pedestal. But I was miserable. I was
Yeah.
miserable. I felt like my job had become, I don't know. It wasn't fulfilling, and I didn't feel like I was living in my superpower, which was helping people that really wanted to kick butt at the highest level. And I remember saying this where I thought, I think talk where I go, you want to build the Navy, not Navy SEALs. And I kept thinking that, and I'll admit when I'm wrong, you make mistakes. In building the Navy, that's great if you want to own a Navy. What you lose in that is there's a lot of, I hate to say this, no offense, Navy people, there's a lot of stupid people in the Navy, right? SEAL team, a lot of smart people. So you're around smart people all the time. And that's what kind of made me realize I'm not doing what I feel I can provide the most value in. And I was trying to drag people up a hill to make them produce sales so that we could make a great company instead of having people that were running up the hill with me. And so that's now, as you know, I've decided to close our real estate team, Elite Home Partners. I'm also the operating principal of an amazing brokerage, Keller Williams Brokerage here in Denver and Cherry Creek, and focus the energy on, obviously making that the greatest brokerage on earth. And I have an amazing team that's built in place with great people that are doing all that great stuff. But now giving me the time to focus on developing and really taking listing agents. And I have one sole focus. What I discovered during this entire mission is I want to help people work less and make more.
Yeah.
And when I started doing all of this research, and that sounds kind of cheesy, like a bumper sticker, but what the lie is in real estate is we work more, make more, right?
Yeah.
So I started looking at it and I said, what one of the biggest things 2 years ago that really helped Elite Home Partners grow to its biggest points was how do we increase our per deal compensation, right? I did a ton of research, Russ, and I found out that people were making 1.7% on average. And I know this is tough to talk about, but I've checked with I just talked to Gary about this. I'm allowed to say this because we're talking about our value for listings, what we provide to sellers, right? We're not talking about what we negotiate with buyers and do all that. I'm just going, if I looked at it and I go, if I can provide a better product to sellers that I know statistically is proven to make them more money,
Yeah.
then in doing such, they would pay me more to do that. right?
Yeah.
Just like if you do anything, you do it really well, you're going to get paid more to do that job than if you're not doing it really well. So I started to focus on how can I help really smart, powerful agents go from X percentage to X percentage. And what they realized is what the craziest thing that was the discovery in the process is when you improve what you make per deal, like it's a simply number that it is going here in Colorado, let's say average sales price in Colorado is 500,000, right? If you think about that, if you are charging 3% for your value package as a listing agent, that's $15,000, right? So every percentage, if you think about it, is 33%, right? 1%'s 5,000, 2%'s 10,000, 3%'s 15,000. Well, what we discovered is so many people were averaging 1.7, 1.8, 1.9 because they're giving their friends and family hookup, because they're going, if you list with me, I'll charge you different if you buy with me too, because they're doing Zillow Flex and they're taking referral fees. And so they're all thinking, and you see it on TV, right? Oh, X agent made X commission. It's like, no, we know that. We make a lot less than what people think because you're paying out the way it happened. So I go, well, that's insane because either A, if everything you're looking at is 33% more for almost every point that you're increasing on average, do you want to work 33% more? Or do you want to provide a value package that earns you 33% more? So you can either work less, right? Work 9 months instead of 12 months, which is the people that I usually work with. They're trying to get time back, right? Like my clientele are people that are looking to get time back because they don't have any problem with working hard, right? They're a Kelly, these are just go-getters. They don't have any issue with that. What they're looking at is going, I want to be at my kids' soccer games. I want to be present. I want to travel. And that's hard to do when you're going, but to win, I'm supposed to close 50 houses a year because then I'm the number one in my office. It's like, well, close 30 houses, make more per deal, and don't worry about the stats. Right? Get over yourself. And that's me talking where you know me, Rose. I'm competitive. I want to win every category. I have more glass trophies than you could ever imagine in your life. It's like I'm a pro bowler, right? And they don't fulfill you. They just sit in a storage room now and they collect dust, and it's great, but it makes you feel this sense of accomplishment. The accomplishment is time with your ones you care about and making the most money when you are working. So I went off on a tangent there, but
I think it's great.
That's what I'm really, passionate about. And last year we had a course called Pulse, and the thing with Pulse that was great, and I still have so many people asking me, so shout out to all the Pulsers out there, but the challenge with Pulse was people were wanting 6-minute abs. They were going, if I come to Pulse and Brendan holds me accountable, which I cannot hold you accountable. I can teach you how to use visual scoreboards. I can teach you how to do things. But if you don't want to do it, I can hit you in the head every day and go, pick up the phone. You're not going to do it. I like working with people that are going, Brendan, I love working. I'm really passionate about what I do. Can you help me do it smarter? So that's what's cool. What I get to do the most now. And I've never been happier than I am at this point. There were some points last year where it was not happy. I was in the dark places and I was just like, is this it? Like, we're going to just have to do this and that. And, and so I'm happy, which is good.
That's good. If somebody can figure out the formula to get the agents in the Navy that aren't the Navy SEALs into production, making money, turning this into a job that supports them, when somebody figures that out, we're gonna have a very different world because it is challenging.
Right. Well, you look at it and you go, even in our offices, what's the craziest part is when we just had our monthly financial meeting, and we have them weekly, but a monthly one to go over the books, and you look at this and you go, really, in any typical office, because we've seen all the stats and this is being generous, we know that about 25% are going to be what we call cappers, right? 25%-ish are going to be cappers. That means only out of an office of 100, 25-ish people are selling 4 or more houses a year. A year. It is just so that's where it blows my mind, Russ. Where there's just this massive amount of opportunity. I do this slide when I teach this listing course, and I have this slide where we research and go out of 18,671 licensed agents here in the Denver Front Range. Last year, 711 listed and sold more than 10 homes. 711 out of 18,000, right? So it's going, oh my gosh. And so every time I do this class, I'm like, how many listings do you want to sell this year? Was everybody say 12? It comes out default. And I'm like, where'd you get that number? One a month seems easy. I'm like, that would put you in the top echelon of this entire market. So
Top
anyway,
5%.
yeah. So it like you said, how do you engage the rest of the people? And I think it's two things. People get into real estate and they don't realize they're getting into a lead generation business, a self-promotion business. And then they fall into the trap of, I'm now a buyer's agent. I show homes, I tour around, which is great for those people. I show all of these houses and I spend thousands of hours. Then I think I'm getting this big commission check because let's say I'm getting a $10,000 check. Well, when I work with agents, I go, for that $10,000, you worked 900 hours.
Yeah.
You made less than Walmart
Yeah.
checker, person at the cashier register. No offense to anybody that does that, but I'm going, why are you doing this? So yeah,
Yeah.
I get worked up about it because it just blows my mind, but yeah,
I was
it's
at the mall a
frustrating.
couple months ago with my wife, and this couple walks up to us, and you know how the past client that walks up to you and
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
like, I know this person. I'm sure I sold them a piece of real estate, but I don't really remember. So they walk up to us and they said, "Oh my gosh, you're our favorite realtor, and you were so great. Do you remember us? You showed us 45 houses." And now, in my own personal defense, that was
Yeah,
in 2008,
right.
and that was before a lot of training came my way. And we did all this stuff and shook their hands and all that kind of stuff. And I looked at my wife and I said, "He thinks we were great agents. We were terrible agents.
Right.
You
Right.
know, we were terrible to our family. We were terrible to them. Like we
You didn't have a
we
strategy. Yeah.
control." And I said to her, we could have been working the drive-through at McDonald's and made the same amount of money per hour as we made with Brad and whatever Brad's wife's name was, but Katie, Brad and Katie. And
Yeah.
true story. And I use that a lot because it's
Yeah.
it's the agent that doesn't quite know what they're doing story.
Well, because you think that your job is, and I watch this with agents, is customer service, right? And so they're going, I want to show them everything they want. I want to do everything they want, and I don't have a strategy, and I just keep doing it until they finally stumble upon something or get exhausted to actually pull the trigger. Instead of going, how can I help them see 4 homes that they really are interested in, move past their buyer remorse, issues, make a contract, get them into the home they want, and so yeah, it is and people take pride in it. I watch people, you've seen me in even auditorium trains where people get irritated with me where they're like, well, Brendan, I take pride in making sure that when I work with buyers that I leave no stone unturned. And
Right.
I always say exactly what you did. I go, great, didn't continue working at Walmart. Good for you. There's nothing wrong with that, except you're hurting your family because you could have been spending more time in exactly what you just said. So yeah, it's hard to, I think, step outside of it. And, again, my wife is an agent, so I get to live and see this every single day. And she is a true to the heart, customer service, buyer agent driven, would do anything for anyone,
Yeah.
loves everyone, super high eye dolphin, and I just watch her and every night I get the stories, right, of her. I showed 16 houses, da, 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 and she's like, I can't believe they didn't pick one. And it just takes everything in me, Russ, to just be like, can we just talk about the strategy? Don't tell me how to do my job. I know what I'm doing. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay. You
I
do.
guess
You
Catherine's
do
not going to
you.
watch this podcast, right?
Yeah, I hope not. She wouldn't listen to me anyway. She hears me all the time. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, she's in it, she's so in it, and she's gotten a lot better. And I mean, she does, she'll do 450 grand in GCI. I mean, she's no slouch, she
That's
is,
awesome.
yeah, she is no, thank goodness, keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
But she could be doing double that,
Yeah.
right? With
Yeah,
with with
for
and
sure.
she has gotten a lot. I mean, she always gives me credit. She goes, I have to live with a coach, and it's like not that I need the credit, but she hears me talking about it all the time, and so it kind of is osmosis into her. But yeah, I just think, Russ, our mission, and you've even taught me so much of this. That story exactly that you just said is so clear, which is going, before I had the right training, right? Yeah, I put that caveat on it because I did the same thing. I showed houses in Naples, Florida. I didn't know and I had a hardcore, Mike Ferry, person smacking me, and we still go through all of this because you're chasing a check, especially in the beginning, right? And so yeah, it's kind of this seesaw where you're getting a lot of reps, and then eventually get to the point where you're doing so well that now you're going, how do I systematize and how do I strategize so that I can do this? Karen Bernardi was a very big inspiration to me actually in thinking this through, where she was like, my biggest goal at first was to make set amount of money. Then I started changing my goals to make set amount of money in certain amount of time. So she goes, let's say I wanted to make 5 million a year in 12 months. She was like, then I go, can I stay at 5? I don't need to make 6. Can I stay at 5, but can I do it in 9 months and spend 3 months with my daughter? Her daughter lived in Costa Rica. I don't know if she still does, and spend 3 months with my daughter in Costa Rica. And that really opened my eyes, Russ, to being like, that's smart, right? That's a way better way of looking at it, because we just get wrapped up in going, make more money, make more money, make more money, make more money.
Yeah.
Well, time is so valuable once you understand how to make money, right?
Yeah.
so,
Love that.
so yeah, all that fun
Right. And
stuff.
if somebody shadowed you for a day, what would they be surprised to see?
Um, I would say how much I actually am on the phone. So I've really tried to build my schedule now around maker and manager days, and trying to learn from so many great people like Gary Keller and Hormozy and you and so many smart people, where if they followed me around on a manager day, I try to compact as many meetings that I possibly can into my Monday manager day. And then that leaves me with 4 days to really focus on content creation. People don't know this about me, but I've wrote several manuals for Keller Williams that Keller Williams has purchased. I am a dorky content creator, so if you saw my desk, it's all workboards and storyboards and everything to create powerful courses and content that unlock people's minds. Also working with KW's content, which I think is extremely, we just talked about this, down in Pueblo and Colorado Springs, and, excited to teach, Win with Sellers and all that fun stuff. But I think they'd be really surprised, probably the amount of green tea that I drink in a day. So everyone's like, are you drinking a beer? And I'm like, no, it's green tea. I probably drink, I would say 12 to 15 green teas a day. Yeah. And there's caffeine in it, but I keep justifying that it's natural caffeine. I don't know. I don't know if
A
it's
little
hurting
bit
me
of
or helping me. Yeah, a little bit of caffeine in there. So green tea is my driver. And then, yeah, I'm literally on Mondays and on Zoom or in a meeting from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And before, my schedule used to be like, this is on this day, this is on this day, this is on this day, this is on this day. And that was really difficult to ever get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
I just couldn't find a rhythm, and I felt like I was always out of time, out of time. So when I coach agents, especially as a listing agent, I go, if you're going to do this, you got to decide if you're going to be a sprinter or a marathon runner. So if you're going to lead gen, you're either going, I'm going to lead gen 2 days a week, hardcore for 6 hours a day, and then the other 3 days I'm going to go on appointments. That's
Yeah.
that's the sprinter. The marathon runner is going 2 hours a day, 5 days a week,
Yeah.
right? And I just find that people have to decide who you are, because you hear everyone going, I watch people all that lead gen every single day. If that's not who you are, it's never
Yeah.
going to resonate with you, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think people would be surprised that I'm extremely neurotic about schedule, calendar, time, and making sure that every day, what people are also probably shocked about is that we spend so much time, as I know you do too, in strategy sessions, making sure we have a very detailed plan before we try and go execute, because that saves so much time. And what I mean by that is, we know last year, everybody November and December did their business plan. And I ask people every day that I'm coaching, I'm going, show me your business plan. They can't find it. They don't know where it is. They haven't looked at it since December. So I go, that's not a plan. That's not a strategy. I go, that was a worksheet you completed for 3 hours back in November.
That was an
So
assignment.
yeah, it was an assignment. So I think it's just strategy, plan, and then conservation of using the moments, the time that you have as effectively as possible. But yeah, that's me.
So you fall in the sprinter, not marathoner category. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah. I think now when I was listing at full speed, I guess I was kind of a sprinter marathoner, but I really just dedicated 4 hours of lead gen 5 days a week, and the afternoons were always appointments. But then that bled into, I mean, I was working 7 days a week
Yeah.
for years,
Yeah.
and that took a toll, and it really did. And so because I was addicted to money. I mean, it's so fun. You make so much, and I have a GED. I don't have any college. I don't have anything like that. So for those that are out there going, you have uncapped earning potential. I loved it. I never thought in a million years I'd have the income I have, and so, but that took a toll. I woke up in, Vegas having a nervous breakdown, and my phone, Russ, I mean, you hear, any of these top agents, including yourself, it's like, it was just lit up with just sellers.
Yeah.
Just, where are you? Why is my sign not here? Why isn't my house sold? Da, 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 which is a good problem to have until you do it for 10 years. And then you go, and I, no offense to Karen Bernard, she's a little quirky. I mean, she's been doing it a long time. But I tell this story about Karen, right? She also, she has a driver. She, that takes her around to door knock expireds in the morning. So her day starts off with her driver and her very beautiful, like decked out Mercedes. I think she has a Bentley now, and she's going around and she's door knocking expireds while making phone calls with her driver, knowing that she's going to make $5 million this year.
Yeah.
And she also was homeless. So I think those, especially those that came from very little, not to say that people that came from a lot don't appreciate it. I think we're scared of being poor, which drives us to being, really aggressive. And then we just look at, and you become addicted to it because you never thought it was going to happen.
Sure. What would you say is a habit or a mindset that has made the biggest impact on your success?
I know I wrote it down in preparation for this. Follow the system, right? I can hear Gary Keller in my ear just going, just follow the system. Make sure you identify the system or model that you want to utilize. And like we've talked about several, back then it was a Mike Ferry model. Then I had MAPS coaches. Then I had outside coaches for specific things that I was trying to work on. I had a coach to teach me how to run an office better. I had a coach to do this. I had a coach to be a better leader. I think it was all of them followed a system. And like we have the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, we have the One Thing, we have Shift, we have all these books. And we have all these great manuals, like getting to teach win with sellers is one of my favorite things to do now, because it gives you a step-by-step exact model to follow. Yeah. All you got to do is go down the checklist and go, wait. I skipped step 2, and we watch people do this all the time. They're on step 8, and I'm like, nope, there's 9 steps. You can't skip step 2 though, otherwise step 8 is stupid. And so I just really think attach yourself to a system or model, make sure you have the right people around yourself to support you along the way, but be methodical and almost, I tell people, I go, I'm just stupid enough to do it step by step. I'm just that kind of person where I'm like, the model, the creativity versus, being a model. And I think about that image all the time where it's like, just stop trying to be so creative in the beginning and just follow the system, follow the model.
Yeah,
so
love that.
That's what I believe.
Any book or resource that you found particularly impactful in your world?
Yeah. So 2 books that I would tell everyone on earth, Ultimate Sales Machine. So Ultimate Sales Machine is, I go through it every year. So I've probably been reading that book for, 12 years. So Chet Holmes is the gentleman that he unfortunately passed away from leukemia, but amazing, talented guy. And it just simplifies how to build your listing sales machine. And then number two is traction. And I mean, me and you've talked a lot about traction. Gino Wickman, he has a series of books. And traction is like when you take the MREA and then put traction on top of it, it kind of connects a lot of the dots when you're trying to scale or grow a real business, right? And so those are the two. Ultimate Sales Machine probably is the most universal for so many people. If you're trying to build a real estate team, office, something more along those lines, traction is a game changer.
Yeah. I have read both of those and appreciate them both as well.
Yeah. Yeah. They're great.
Anything else you want to share with our audience?
No, I as I said, I appreciate this. My message, and you've heard me say it, and you can see it here. All the listings. It's listing focused business, right? Listings provides time. I know agents get so stuck in this, and they're just very grinding it out and going, I love working with buyers, and it's so fulfilling. You know me, that's great. But really, if you control the listings, you control your time, you control your life, you control your compensation, of course, all negotiable, but to a certain degree, right? You control your compensation. And I just hope the message, if anyone, is hearing this, is just going, learn everything you can about becoming a top listing agent, and it'll improve your quality of life. It'll improve all these things. And it doesn't mean you don't get to work with buyers. I look at working with buyers as like when you're a really top attorney and you do pro bono work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm going to take on this case. I know I don't want to deal with it, but it's the right thing to do. I'm not going to make any money, but these people need my help, right? And I look at it like that, where it's going, but I make my money doing this, right? Like I'm Johnny Cochran makes money doing this, and then he goes, I also want to help out some people every once in a while. So yeah, that would be the message. Be passionate about listings. They'll change your life. And just make sure that you have a system and a product and a program that you are really laser focused on, and then don't skip the steps.
Love that. Brendan, thanks for being on our podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Russ.
Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.